babies, everybody loves the Allman Brothers, including Cher and probably Sunny over on the other side, because it's sure sunny here, man. Well, a little hazy out there because we got some forest fires going on in the mountains around us here. Nothing too close, but it's smoky out there this morning, but that just gives that old sangre glow a way to go, something to radiate itself from. You ought to see it today. It's an amazing beginning of an amazing day. Oh, you do see it because you feel it the same way we do, don't you? I thought so, babies. Hey, apologize for missing the switch there a minute ago here on the Coyote Medicine Show. Goodness gracious, one of those kind of Mondays. My secondary computer here has been burping at me internet-wise. Just keeps kicking itself off. So far, so good, though. For about the last 20 minutes, it's been hanging on so I can keep the chat room monitored anyway. It's kind of hard to do just on one machine. You got to have two, baby. Well, this is like life, man. One is fun, but two is the one, right? Yeah. If you want to roll, you got to rock, right? Yeah, see? It takes it that way, see? And so we're all kind of feeling it today, that kind of disjointed feeling, you know, that kind of disgusting presence. Says, why can't I get it right no matter what I do? Oh, sardonic side's trying to get to you, ain't it, man? I feel it too, really strong today. Well, I felt it all weekend. It's like, the light ones, the bright ones, we're seeing like all the crazy ones running around, and it fomented all these deep-seated sub-psychological memories of how crazy it has been here, and how most people just, geez. I mean, you talk about no intelligence whatsoever, and you've seen a lot of it in this time. And you kind of lost your faith in humanity for a while, didn't you? Which means you lost your faith in yourself, right? Because, see, if you can't trust the ones around you, you can't trust the one inside of you either, because guess what? You're human too, baby. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Oh, forgive me for my sardonic laugh, but it's so true. But see, that's the rock and the roll. And this is what is getting us through, man. Because if you want to see intelligence out there, you got to have a little in here. You want peace out there, you got to have a little in here. It's got to start at home, And if you're going out there and you're being in the world and you're reactive to it, you're saying, oh my God, I can't take this shit no more. How come they think violence is funny, etc., God, I've been going through that one too. Shit. But babies, you just pull yourself on through. You see through the lie of all of that. You see your reactive nature to it. You say, now where the hell does that come from? I'm a revolutionary. I'm a love revolutionary. I got to be in the revolt of the heart. Well, see, what you don't understand is the heart does not revolt. The heart is the one steady energy we have in life, the one that keeps us going no matter how much strife or disconnection we're feeling. The heart keeps us alive. See, that's what it symbolically represents in the physicality of 3D, where it's just a little fleshly thing that pumps blood and says, okay, you're going to stay alive again for a few more minutes here. Pump, pump, pump. And when it stops, oh no. But there are those that can stop their heart and still live to tell about it too. I mean, nothing is as fixed here as it seems to be, including, that lack of intelligence around, I remember, I'm amazing. I've done 3 million miles long-haul trucking in this country here, the US of A, a little bit in Canadian, a little bit down Mexico way, but mostly in the USA here on Turtle Island. And babies, I've seen a lot, And I was realizing this morning how deeply that attitude still affects me that I had towards the motoring public. Taking this person's hell, most of them are pretty damn cool people. Put them behind the wheel and, most of them just check their brains at the car door, man, and get in there and mash the gas and don't know where they're going or what they're doing and, don't know that anybody else exists. And see, it really, creates a lot of murder and mayhem out on the highways to be unskilled and untrained and out there driving, I had a few unfortunate things happen to me when I was a kid. I started driving when I was really little because I was raised in a farm and ranch environment. And driving is the thing you got to do right away. So you start when you're just a little kid driving tractors in the field and stuff. I mean, it goes from there. So, by the time I got, my little young butt out on the highways, I was like cocky a little bit because I thought I knew so much more than everybody else because I'd been driving so long. Well, driving out there in the fields ain't the same, and in the country roads is not the same as driving in town. And pretty soon I got found, man. I was like, oh shit, I had a little wreck, you know. I destroyed another person's car a little bit, and I'm going, oh shit, you know. And so then I got like, I had to take a skills class in driving as part of my, you know, misbehavior punishment, you know, because that's the way they looked at it back then. But God, it wasn't punishment. There were some of the coolest chicks and coolest guys I'd ever run into in a while, man, because they brought them in from all over the valley, all us bad kids that are making mistakes out there, you know. So we had a ball, and we, you know, we had a common thread going on, yeah. We weren't revolting. We were like revolutionaries, every one of us, in one way or another. Not all were as direct about it as I was getting to be, but I'm talking about the age of 15, 16, you know. You get your license when you're 15 out there, or at least you did. I don't know what they do now, but anywho, long story short, you know, because of those unfortunate incidences and the 2 or 3 little extra safety courses I had to take, I picked up some real good skills there, you know, and I began to put them into practice, and I became a far better driver. And then ultimately, after, you know, I'd done a few other things in my life, when I hit about 23, I started driving long-haul trucks, because that just seemed natural to me, you know. I couldn't take too much of this society around me. See where these attitudes start? Because I just seem to have, I mean, the same thing you see out on the highways I saw in everyday life. People not exercising too much intelligence or common sense. Didn't even know what it was, and bumping into each other and ripping each other off and just, oh, murder and mayhem. Yet everything had such a peaceful smile on the surface. That's one good thing about these days. You can't pretend that it's all okay, you know, like they did back in that day, you know, and just go ahead and do your skullduggery in the background. Nah. It's all coming out into the open air now, man. You can't hide a blessed thing here anymore. I know it's going to stretch us, because it already does, to see what's really going on, even in just the 3D. But see, you got to understand, it's multi-dimensional always. So if somebody's talking about having visited a secret city underneath some big old mountain somewhere, more than likely they've had a multi-dimensional experience and don't even realize it yet. So they have to see it in a 3D sort of way, and they're inside of a great big cave, inside of a mountain, blah, blah, blah. You see, there's a simultaneous and multi-dimensional life going on right along with the 3D here. The 3D just represents one little whimper of it, one little whisper of it, you know. I'm talking about the world we live in, for those that don't quite relate to my terminology. Grandpa's still a bit of a hippie even from back in those days, see. That was my response when I saw this lack of intelligence, going back to the main theme here. It was, wow, it's like, how can I help this situation? I felt pretty depressed about it, too, because I felt helpless, hopeless. I didn't feel like I could do too much to influence, and all I could do was resist, you know. And so resist I did, and, you know, got my head beat down a few times because of it, but learned some good survival skills out of that, you know. And just learned how to flow a little more. It took some real adjustment those first 18 years of my life. But after that, I don't know, I kind of lit on my ass and says, you know, this is not too bright. There's a better way to flow. I'll learn to be creative, rebellious, you know, and I'll put it in their face wherever I can. But this criminal shit ain't, it's all glorified, but it don't look too good to me. I can't do that anymore. And I really wasn't much of a criminal. The main thing I did was just buck the system, run away from home and stuff, and put a little theft in action once in a while to augment my energy, because, you know, I didn't feel like I had enough to get out of there. So, here, help me do it this way. Bad little boys. But this is how you learn. This is how you grow. You know, and you go through a lot of shit. You see, but a lot of us have had energies alive inside of us that just can't let go of all of that. We remember how crazy the world was around us just as kids. And I mean, heinously so. It wasn't just thoughtless, it was mean about it, you know. And a lot of people became victims of, you know, various rapes of one sort or another, and usually got violated by some kind of authority figure. You wouldn't believe in my spiritual practice how much I've run into that. I mean, it's 90, 95, 99% of the people out there have sexual trauma in their childhood when they shouldn't even have to be like doing anything but feeling tingles and glows down there and starting to get used to it, you know? I mean, come on, guys, you know, shit. And so then we get reactive to that shit because you see it in your own family, you know, and it's like, oh my God. And you're supposed to turn your head and pretend it doesn't exist because that's what everybody else does. You can't. But you also can't speak up about it too much because this is somebody powerful, can take you down and you know it. So how do you do it? You bring it out little by little. You drop a little seed here and a little bomb over there. And sooner or later the truth comes out, and somebody back in those days, people could go to jail if they got found out. Nowadays they give them some kind of a reward and make them a politician. I hear they're going to legalize pedophilia now. See how we can get so depressed about it? So upset, reactive to it, you see, whether it's depressed or not, reactive to it in some way, conditioned into it, you know, because, you know, we had the bucket. We couldn't swallow it. We couldn't just shut our mouth and go on and pretend everything's cool. You know, I mean, we were too damned honest inside, you know, blessedly so, eh? See, so we had to learn to flow a little differently, and that's where rock and roll came from. We invented that frickin' music to get us through, and all the sweet messages in it too, let alone the harmonic resonation of the tribal beat repeated again and again, when before that was illegal. You get your head cut off for playing anything close to rock and roll back 100 years or so before the advent of rock and roll. I'm telling you, it was so, man. So I think first came Marilyn Monroe to soften up the attitudes and the conditions, the energy in this reality. Then Elvis came along, rose to his fame. He was already around, but he wasn't real famous till about a year later, you know, because she had to come in and warm the populace up. Then he could come in with the tribal beat and remind people of our reality, which is we're all in this together. We're one single tribe. And if you're looking down your nose at all these crazy, unintelligent folks, well, babies, you're putting yourself down and you're putting a heavy heap on yourself. And you're making it almost impossible to overcome that. Because first we have to notice inside the numbness, and I mean the absence of feeling, the overwhelming pain or whatever it was that you held there. Held is the word, because we're not holding it now, are we? No, we're letting it go. We're rocking and rolling. But held it there for whatever reason, you know, and it burdened you because you were looking down your nose at well, I don't know about down your nose. Maybe you weren't hooty about it, but you still were pretty upset about it because 99% of the people around you were crazy, unintelligent, insane fucking clowns. Forgive the added emphasis, but it's truth. It's just like, wow. I mean, anybody that still retained a little bit of their innocence could see through this and could not tolerate it. So this is the group of people that rose up in the ranks of rock and roll, both the performers and the kids that went, oh, well, people, it wasn't just kids, but the people that, yeah, were fans of it. And, you know, brought forth even better music, you know. Rock bands would get out there doing their crazy little concerts in magic places like the Red Rocks here in Colorado. One of the most beautiful, naturally created amphitheaters there ever was. And I'll tell you what, they would perform music while they were on stage giving their little hoodoo that they didn't even know they'd done. Somebody had to play the tape back to them later, and they'd get new songs out of it and shit like that, you see. That's how crazy it was in a real sort of way. Because there was a generation, a whole generation at play back in that day that just couldn't tolerate it, had to see through it, saw through it already, and had to create a better way. So we brought the tribal beat back into play so we could know what rock and roll was, what life really was, and get over this shit someday. We had a good start back then, didn't we, man? Those of you that were alive back then, a lot of you are love children. You wouldn't believe, man. I think, a big percentage of the love making back in those days were just pure acts of love, given in innocent, like little baby sheep's mating or something like that. We were just crazy in love with life, and we just weren't going to take that rigid, warlike bullshit anymore. This thing that creates war. And, you know, I began to realize as years wore on, what really created war were those reactive feelings inside. It gave it license. Because you're at war with an unintelligent world. A numb, unfeeling, insane, crazy, ghouly kind of world. That's what you were born into. And that's what you became reactive to. And in so doing, you allowed the wars to come into being because you didn't do nothing to quench the wars. You were a part of the fight. You were a warrior yourself. You see, adjusting into the reality in some way, you know. Ultimately, it's going to swallow you up and take you away for a while. But after that little loop, you're going to come back in style. See, and that's kind of what's going on in the whole, all of the generations alive right now. We've done a loop. We've gone through the crazy shit. We got it, you know, overwhelmed by our reaction to it, not realizing that we had the power at any point to change it. Just by feeling differently inside, not letting other people's feelings and thoughts affect us so greatly, in the fact that, yeah, we have the eyes to see, so we see through them, and instead of reacting to them, we say, what can I do to make this more peaceful? How can I share this love and help this person see? That's what you got to think when you're out in this crazy traffic, and people are running into each other with thoughtless insanity, and creating bloodshed on the highways. You know, this is what you got to be. Is you got to be, how can I make this not be this way anymore? How can I be more peaceful, more competent on the highway and share this energy with others? Why don't they have drivers training, for hell's sakes, you know? People need to get in trouble more often. Go take some skills classes. They give out driver's licenses like it's, you know, a prize in the popcorn Cracker Jack box, man. Shit, yeah, man. I tell you, because they'll give them to anybody. I mean, I've known people driving that really had no business doing it. They couldn't even see over the steering wheel. Things like that, you know what I mean? Of course, everybody adapts and somehow we get by. Most of the time, without running into each other and creating all that murder and mayhem. But see, that's just a microcosm of the whole life around you. People are just as thoughtless in their lives as they are when they're driving. When they're driving, they just get to no longer pretend. They can let the demon out because they're kind of anonymous. And what they're feeling is what you're feeling. If they're numb, there's an aspect of yourself that ain't paying attention. Just wanting to go numb. Even though you really can't. The more you try to go numb, the more pain you feel. That's just the way it works in people with a little bit of light in them that makes them real. That's the kind we draw here at the Coyote Medicine Show on the Hazy Radio Network, the lovingest network you ever found. But the really rebellious ones that have always been hanging around, sometimes and most of the time, quietly rebellious too. Just looking at it in this way, in some deep sort of way. Even though they let them overwhelm them and they get reactive to it and try to kick ass every now and then. You see, it's all about learning to give up the fight and showing the way so others can, you know, wake up. You got to recognize that these idiots driving or whatever are going to war and thoughtlessly bombing and killing people and thinking that's what they got to do. You got to realize that they just don't know any better. They'll feel the effects afterwards and it traumatizes them forever. And they're not worth a shit to us as human beings anymore. In fact, they get violent and crazy and start to rape their children and shit. I mean, that's just the way it's been. You know, because we weren't dealing with it inside of ourselves, realizing we have the power to put an end to that kind of world. And we're doing it right now. In a rock and roll sort of way. First you got to learn to rock and then you get on the roll. That's how it works. There's a formula to it. There's medicine in it. Energetic medicine. Same kind we share here from 9,000 feet high in the Rocky Mountain sky. Each and every day, Monday through Friday, in that coyote sort of way. The old grandpa been through a lot, but just a little compared to you. And then, you know, there's others around us been through so much. Oh, my God. We got to help them relieve it, too, you know. Especially the warriors. Which, you know, can be male and female and can be people that have taken up arms or people that have taken up the fight in other ways. The warrior's just the same. I know that energy well. I've felt it, you know. And where I was kind of shy of stature then, you know, little person, well, babies, I had to learn to war in psychological ways and spiritual ways as time went on that others would find overwhelming. you know, and so I wouldn't be physically harmed. And usually at work, there were times that it failed me, but for the most part, I could bullshit people out of it in a hurry, and they'd fall out of it. But I made war once too often, you know, and sometimes got the shit kicked out of me because of it, you know. But the whole idea is not to fight it, not to be reactive to it. You see, you got to learn to rock with it. If you want to change it out there, let it change in here. And I know it's hard because people see this as a burden and responsibility. If that out there is happening because you're doing this in here or whatever, or holding this feeling or whatever, then people take it as a shameful thing. And see, we're taught to be that way from the time. It's your fault, baby child. You made my life miserable. This is what parents say to kids a lot. Thinking the kids are just, they don't hear it. But they do. They feel every bit of it. They're feeling your feelings more than hearing your words. Kid, it's all your fault. You're to blame because you're making me miserable because you can't shut up because you're miserable. To the babies. I mean, this happens so often. This is common. More common than a toothache. It's just real common. And so a child grows up feeling burdened, like it's their fault that the parents are so damn miserable. And it comes in a variety of ways. They don't have to, but that's usually where it is. Something simple like that, baby crying and needing their diaper changed all the time and stuff. The parents feeling overburdened. Maybe this is the 6th or 7th or 8th child, and it's just too much. They go crazy, you know, the burden. It got handed to them by their ancestors, etc., see. And then the children take this on in this way. They start to feel, in their innocence, that they're to blame. And then, you know, you go out later and start to try to fight your way through, and it just burdens you that much more. And finally you get to this point where you feel helpless, hopeless, unworthy, and nothing's ever going to work out right. And you might as well just get out of here and go be relieved. Well, what's over there? You're not too sure just yet. Well, you know what's over there, but oh, God, you know better. You know it's changing. You see, it's these dark moments that bring up honesty inside. Because you're going to go as deep and as dark as you possibly can before you'll get honest with yourself. You so believe in the lies that you swallowed to get by here. When I'm talking about lies, I'm talking about these reactive things that are in the least bit judgmental of another person or yourself in it. And we've got some really evil, nasty, obvious beings out there running things right now. And this world is really, I mean, this country's gone topsy-turvy, and the rest of the world with it, because we're a dominating SOB. You know, like I said, Statue of Liberty's hanging herself in shame. And I mean, hanging her head in shame. She probably should hang herself, but we won't let her. You see, she'll shoot herself in the foot instead. Metaphors everywhere. No, she ain't even going to do that. She's going to bring us back, babies. Because she holds the light and the love to let you unburden yourself. When you see this as just an inheritance, just, you know, that you got from your ancestors, that really the only way to correct the flow is not to feel that way anymore. Not to let this life around you burden you. Not to feel so much picked on or, you know, responsible for it in any way. But see, you have to see through the lie. Art for art's sake. The creative aspect of life. Money for God's sake. Forget it. In other words, the attitude. It says, I got to do this, I got to do that. All these people, blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever it is, you know. And then you start to see through it. You start to lighten up. That's the rock that puts you on the roll. And when you go to that really dark place, and we do it repeatedly too, until we finally start to get it right. That's how you grow wings. You go, you know, into a cocoon. And that cocoon is a solid pit of depression. In one form or another. Now, you might be happily depressed. I mean, there's lots of varieties of it. But you finally get to this point where you stop fooling yourself. And then you can find some movement in your life where you thought you'd never move again. And then you can start to draw some light and love through yourself and see that that's what you're made of. And that the only way to change this is by letting yourself be changed from inside out. And by change, I mean accept your reality. That you are the all-powerful, innocent heart of creation. And when you look around you, you see it even in these thoughtless bimbos that go run in front of trains and, get wrecked. Or whatever it is they do. Cut you off in traffic, whatever. These are not thoughtless bimbos. These are our fellow human beings, the family, the tribe of human babies. You see, all representing the mother love energy that creates the children. And brings them forward in life and supports them all the way through it, no matter how stupid they get with it. There you go, judging yourself again, see? Burning yourself down, that's stupid. I missed the switch earlier. I should feel really bad, man. I let it sit there dead air for 10 frickin' minutes. Well, you're still there. Thank you, guys. I love you so. Tolerating this old man's intolerance, don't you know? You see, and this is how we get past the medicine of the past. It's been such a blast, blasting us down, breaking us down to basic elements so that we can be found in the heart and go with the flow from there on out, don't you know? If you want to see the flow, you got to, seek it. Be open to it. That doesn't mean you're open to programming. That means you're open to see truths. To allow your heart to shine light on different aspects in your life. And then it becomes pure magic. And even though you still might feel the life of the tragedy going on around you, and have to deal with it too, because it's going to be in your face. So you can learn to even see past that. That's how we transform this world, is how we transform our life. That's how we become truthful. Let's just allow this truth to display itself. And babies, it takes a lot of darkness. Because you've been stubborn and running backwards like all of us have. It's been a backwards world. So you've been real stubborn in your darkness. But only in that deep darkness can you see the light shining. And boy, when the light comes on, you're no longer whining or whimpering or feeling so damn low. You start to glow. The radiance of love starts to glow through you. You understand and let go of the unworthiness that you felt. No matter how much you lied to yourself about whether it was there or not. Most people stay ahead of it and just feel it as pain. And think that's a condition they got to live in again and again. Well, that's part of the rock and roll. Only by living in pain can you learn that you really don't need it. But it's the same thing as the darkness. Same thing, really. It's just there to show you the light. That's what's going on right now in the world around us, man. You got to give yourself some time now to settle it inside. Whatever it is you're feeling today, take it for that ride, right to the heart. It's love anyway. See, even in your reactive nature to all the insanity around you, you're trying to change it. You're just, by seeing through it, you're like, oh my God, we can't live this way anymore, etc. There's a deep, deep, deep desire. This is what the frustration and all the darkness is born of, by the way. To see the fulfillment of the real dream, the real life. Because all of us have that in us. The moment we're born. Well, even before that, because we come from such a world. We know that world as our reality. The dream that we hold inside of a peaceful planet where everybody just gets along. Yet even a human unit as small as a family, 3.2 kids, 0.2 gets in the way of everybody, don't you know? Even in that, there's not much peacefulness, is there? Family can be the biggest trial ever there was, and oftentimes is. But it gets you going. It illustrates to you a little more of yourself by, maybe throwing it wickedly back at you, but at the same time, it honors and acknowledges the innocence that it hates in you, that it loves to hate, see? Because you got to know you always are the innocent one, all the time. I don't care how many bombs you dropped, you're still the innocent one. It's the way we're born, it's the way we stay as we go through. It's the only thing that gets us through, too, that love that's in that, of course, that's mother. But that innocence, see, we've retained that. Part of the darkness's function was to make sure that it stayed there and hold it tight till it could be set free. See how bad the illusion gets? And how crazily insane, in a sane sort of way. Rock and roll. That's the medicine, the music of our heart and soul. You want to bake it, you got to shake it. You want to see it, you got to be it. It's just the way it works here. So now it's kind of like, even though we've all lived in the dark and, you know, shit, I've gotten it wrong a whole bunch of times that weren't wrong at all. But just the way it goes, and it says, okay, you don't want to go this way, right? So what is that illustrating to you the whole time while you're going all in so-called wrong ways? It's illustrating you the way to go. And it's not some square goody two-shoes things either where you just, you know, go along with the worldly flow. No, it's when you create the flow of life around you. You allow it to be created inside of you. You allow yourself to be this vessel of love, this temple of life. It's more than worthy to habitate the universal heart, or it would not be inside of you. It'd be somewhere else, eh? Well, how can it go anywhere, really? It lives in everything. And what we're seeing around us is an expression of that divine universal heart. And it's all about seeing through the illusion of all the insanity. Seeing why the game has been played the way it has and letting go of that. Not playing it anymore. Just like when we had a little theme back in our day, tune in, tune on, drop out, man. And you had to. You dropped out. Well, until society, you know, made financial requirements on you. A lot of us got away with it for a few years. Oh, goodness, dear. It was tricky, but because of that, we're coming into this. Because we've known the darkness and the shadowy ways, because we've known the difficulty, because we've been way reactive to the world around us, we've been overwhelmed by it, man. And almost swallowed up by it, too, though there may have been part of you just absolutely refused to behave that way, and bless you for it. But see, that's that warrior side again. And as long as you're fighting it, you're feeding it, man. The moment you learn to dance with it, to roll with it, to go with it, you know. I think old President Putin over there in the Soviet Union's getting to be a rocker. I wonder if he's going to grow some hair out, man. Start looking like a hippie and wearing a peace band. Because I think he'll keep the 3D upright. I mean, it's funny how these things switch around, isn't it? You know, it wasn't but, 70, 80 years ago, Stalin was in power over there and killing his own people. I mean, he was a butcher. Hundreds of millions of people died in his reign of terror and tyranny that some people are trying to replicate here, you see. Now, all of a sudden, the whole tables have turned. U.S. is now the table of tyranny, and the Soviet, well, it's not Soviet anymore, the Russian Federation is becoming, you know, the stronger power in more compassionate ways. I mean, essentially, they're still warlike, because that just seems to be the way of the world. Fight, fight, fight. You see, you notice sometimes somebody does you wrong when your first reaction's inside, if you're being honest with yourself, why, that mother trucker, I'm going to get that person. And starting to think of devious ways to do it, see? Or whatever it is. Maybe it's something as simple as a mouse invading your house. Where's my shotgun? Ooh, talk about overreaction, eh? Do more damage with that thing than the mouse ever dreamed of doing, man. You got to put it in a reasonable perspective. Let go of those insane thoughts. But you got to see them first and know they're there, because they are influencing and affecting you, whether you act on them or not. It's been a big part of us, babies, and a big part of why we've maintained the warrior attitude, even though we're peace lovers. Isn't that crazy? I mean, a lot of people just have real issues with getting past the idea that you got to fight it. It's so ingrained in us. And we've so lived that in one way or another. Fight all the injustice, fight this, fight that. A lot of people get swayed off the whole path, just in their fight with some huge injustice that's getting real blatant about it, see? Again, the pussy boil effect. This thing has to erupt, it has to let go. And that's what it's up to, don't you know? So that's why you're seeing so many dark and devious things in the political reality and the machinery behind that, the economic machinery and so forth. Time for truth, babies. This shit's been going on forever. Just like that avenue of darkness been going on inside of you and keeping you in that reactive place that you couldn't shake. So it kept you feeling powerless. Even as you tremendously influence the reality around you, and even despite all of that, caused a lot of good things to happen. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, it's the perfect irony. It's the coyote medicine through and through. Even in our reactive nature, what are we looking? What are we searching for? The divine dream in motion, a peaceful family, a peaceful planet, where everyone doesn't only just get along. Hell, we're lovers, man. Well, pretty close to it. All the way through. You see, that's the dream inside of you, inside of me too, because we hold that commonly as well. And that's what we're given a place to now, inside of ourselves. And that's what will bring this ancient wisdom forward inside of each one of us. Because we have served a gazillion generations, one way or another, to bring forward this time of understanding. Gone through tremendous upheavals and misunderstandings, and premier areas of being almost so in tune with the universe that we were almost home but never quite made it. Now we do. Because we're there already, see? We created that a while back. Snuck it in when nobody's looking. And so now these politicals that thought they were so damn smart and devious, you know, are, well, the machinery behind. Politicos, just like movie stars, they're just talking heads, moving bodies, you know, they're just there so you'll react to them, and, you know, they do a good job of it. They're real good actors and actresses. They really are. They know how to act stupid and evil at the same time. And just throw it in your face. Again, it's becoming blatant. You know, I mean, just look around you. I don't have to describe it. You already know. Well, in your own family, too, see? Everything is kind of a microcosmic, macrocosmic, ever-expanding reflection of you and the others around you, you know? It's just the way it works. That's creation in motion, see? So as long as we can be tricked into being reactive in that way, well, there's always going to be the warrior thing, the fight, and we're, you know, ultimately lose out to our own danger. But yet, falling through the danger brings you out of the stranger avenues and sickness. So, you know, sometimes when some butcher's killing 100 million of their own people, it's kind of a purifying of a spirit energy, a deep sickness that got into the heart of humanity. And it really needs to resolve itself. And so it's doing that to the saints, kind of. Because we're all kind of like saints. Every one of us is human beings. Just putting up with this nonsense for more than 35 seconds is a noble and heroic action. Any baby that stays alive after they've had a few breaths and start to get the mistreatment that goes with the love here, ooh, and they don't check out, that's sacrifice, big time. But that's, you know, knowing that, that's why we become reactive. But sooner or later, it's going to lead you to this place of wonder. I wonder why this happened, why I'm feeling this way. And then you start to look out with a little more clear eyes, because your heart comes into play. And you're like, oh, Jesus and Joe hanging there, and they're suffering, man. And you're looking out at these people around you that performing such cruel activities on other folks. Oh, my God, it's me. Why am I doing this to myself? Why? And out of that why comes the long sigh of understanding. It might take a little time to gravitate into you, but it's there. And it's giving up the fight and doing it with a flair such as this earth has never seen before. You, my friends, my brothers and sisters, grandchildren that we are, spectacular in your blossoming being, and able to so powerfully influence this reality. And when you finally accept and understand and employ that energy, well, it's over with. Everything we ever reacted to is done with. Intelligence given of the heart is the very source essence of creation. It's what makes rock and roll. How people can sing about sailing under the Southern Cross, you know. Renewal. Understanding the journey, what's put you here. You're looking for that ultimate treasure. The ability to give up the fight and take flight in your own loving creation. And be deeply appreciated for it by all the creation around you, too. Right now, you're habitating a space that's feeling a little unappreciated, isn't it? You feel like a sacrificial being again. You're putting it out there and you're not getting it back. I mean, essentially, that's the story you tell yourself. Because that seems to be the apparent way, right? That same contention is reflective. You still got contention inside. Time to embrace that. Let it go. Let go of the fight. Go with the flow, in other words, see? Obvious activity around us keeps pointing right back to the heart. All the hostility we go through at the mercy of others, same way, pointing right back to the heart. That doesn't mean you shouldn't draw lines in the sand and say, no, I ain't taking that no more. Shit, yeah, that's a loving thing. Anything that just, gets things going in a better direction is. But you have to be in the flow to know that's what it is. And what's the flow? The ability to understand and see your life in motion, to feel it, and no longer deny the feeling of it, but to embrace all feeling as training tools that lead to the deeper feelings that are real and do create from inside of us. See, we were the blind, misjudging the blind. We didn't see this. We didn't know we had this energy, though we held it as a dream. The nirvanic dream, the paradise dream, however you wish to describe it, but that's how we held it. Not realizing the dream is our reality. That each here is a vessel of love and the divine center of creation, and letting that creation flow into being around them, as given by the heart for it to be. So see, now our eyes are getting more honest. Now our eyes are going to allow us to see what we could only react to before. And because we can see it this way, see through the treachery, in other words, the treachery evaporates. People get honest and real and go away and do things that they wouldn't do before. And quit bossing folks around at the point of a gun. Being afraid of everyone. That's a fear of yourself. So you're going to kill everybody else off because you don't like what's going on inside, see? That's the sub-psychological mechanics of it when you're like being a crazy policeman going out and gunning down innocent people for no good reason other than you're afraid. Or some kind of extremist, performing some horrible act. You're afraid. You know what your biggest fear is? That you're wrong. That's why you get all self-righteous about it. I can pull this weapon out and shoot anybody I want gets in my way. If they indicate they're going to be violent, I'm going to kill them. That kind of attitude. Now, that's an extreme side of it, but that kind of attitude. I'll do anything to get into power and keep this power. Don't you get in my way, I'm evil. Stuff like that, you see. We know it all too well, don't we? Because we've all played it somewhere or another. All of it. Every avenue and aspect of it. That's why we're ripening out of it now, finally. It takes a long time for fruit to grow and ripen up, don't you know? This kind of fruit, anyway. Fruity little nutcakes that we are. But delightfully so. When you see this with the mother's heart, inside of yourself, then you start to understand the delightful nature of it. The mischievous nature in it. The true sacrifice, which is that there is no sacrifice. We're just educating ourselves by allowing ourselves to feel some aspects and live through them that have never been done before in this whole universal reality, not once. And we've done it for millions, billions of years now. We're saints. We're the resilient archangels of life that not only could go through it and take it, but bring ourselves out of it too. Our own dang heroes, not looking for heroes no more. And by the way, anybody that's out there telling you the ETs are going to come and save us are full of shit. They're family just like we are. It's a whole different paradigm than what you've been fed before. There is truth out there, but damn little of it. But just, follow the flow of your own heart. It'll tell you what's real. So even the biggest liar is going to have to say some truth every now and then, and you can latch on to that and let go of the bullshit. See right through it. See, it's all about seeing the bullshit of the insanity like they're on the highway of life. and let go of anything crazy inside of yourself that makes others crazy around you, so that traffic flow peacefully forevermore. You see what I mean? When I'm talking about the highway, I'm talking about the highway, not some interstate highway, not some autobahn, but the highway, the highway. You drive a different vehicle there, the vessel of love, eh, babies? Yeah. Now what do you see? Perfect unity in that traffic. Perfect harmony. Synchronistic harmony. In a rock and roll sort of way. It's got to have a little shadowiness to it. It's got to have a little gritty nature in it. That's what makes it fun, you see. But we sure get past the heaviness that's been trying to weight us down and kill us forever. Screw all that, man. Here's to you, babies, and your Saint Mary Jane, too, who lives inside of you. The mother love symbolically, of course. That not only forgives everything, sees through it. That's how she can forgive it. You're just children playing in a sandbox, baby. And your toys and weapons, they're just toys. Tonka trucks in this reality, in the sandbox time, baby. About time you was waking the truck up, man. Don't want to see you hanging around with that frown anymore, man. Just get it on, man. Show others the way by letting it come out to play inside of you, man. When you recognize the sandbox, then you can realize you really are a child. And there's a reason why we're playing it this way, okay? A lot more to go here in the Coyote Medicine Show. I don't want to overload you too much, man. You know, it's a morning wake-up call, but good golly, you gotta have a little reason about it, eh? Get the rock, get the roll, get the music and harmony going in your heart and soul. Don't listen to those mother truckers no more. They're full of shit, okay? Just go the way of the heart, man. Let the loving way come out to play. You know, hippie, happy, intelligent people, pursuing infinite enlightenment by following the flow of the divine heart inside, don't you know?